You're just joining my live stream. Welcome in. I hardly stream, but I'm trying to put out content as often as I can. Sorry, I think I need my glasses because the light's affecting my eyes. Um, okay. Let me just be sure what I have on my story. So I have to share this again. Okay, mic check, mic check, mic check, mic check. Mic check, mic check. Can you hear me? Mic check, mic check, mic check. Okay, so we're good to go. So there are a couple of things that have been going around on TikTok lately, and some of them are bordered upon cultural identity conflict. What do I mean by this? Hold on, I need to put an action button for those that will be joining. Okay. Next. Yeah. Mhm. Mhm. Okay. It's following the list. Blessed podcast, welcome in. I'm about to start. I just decided to kick off. Mhm. So I think this is fine here. Okay. So I have no idea what that looks like. I need to check with my other phone. Mhm. Okay. So, like I was saying, a lot of issues or conversations that you see going around on social media hinges on what I would like to call cultural identity conflict. So you can call it CIC. What do I mean by CIC? CIC is what happens when you have a rabbit being raised amongst rats. Now, there are two things that are likely to happen. It is either the rabbit will spend so much time with the rats that the rabbit will be convinced that what the rats are doing or the way they live their life is the best way, that when the rabbit goes back to the den, the hole, or whatever habitat rabbit primarily dwell in, when that rabbit goes back there, there is a high chance that that rabbit would want to convince, colonize, or influence other rabbits to begin to behave like rats. I will explain. So the way it works is the reason the rabbit primarily left the habitation of rabbits, let's work with rabbits and rats, it's because the rabbit spends so much time trying to thrive within its natural habitation, but it did not succeed. And then the rabbit then had an opportunity that it capitalized on and migrated or changed, transferred, or rather switched to a different habitation where you now have the rats. And what then happens is that the rabbit spends so much time with the rats that it then, finds a way to thrive or survive amongst the rats. And what that inherently means in turn is that because I can do this with this, I believe if we move this to this, then it would work for them and those. It is called transitivity. So because the rabbit has been able to actualize its goal amongst the rats, the rabbit then believes, okay, maybe if I am able to get other rabbits to behave the way the rats are behaving, we'll have a better colony of rabbits. I know the rabbits and rats will be confusing for you, but I want you to take your time and pay close attention. Now, the reason I keep using rats and rabbits is because I want you to be able to take what I am saying and apply it in any scenario. What happens when John Doe leaves its primary colony? It's that John Doe left there naturally believing that there is a better way to do things. This is what happens most times, especially when John Doe is not escaping a crime or death. If John Doe is in search for a better way to live or a better life, what then naturally happens is that when John Doe moves to a secondary colony, that is to say, when John Doe successfully moves to a new colony, John Doe then begins to assimilate what is being done in that colony and then moves the knowledge he has gotten from that colony and wants to go back to influence those in his primary colony to be able to get them to, behave like the secondary colony. If you jump into this conversation in the middle, you will find what I'm saying confusing. But hopefully, whenever you watch this video clip online, or whenever you come across this live stream replay somewhere, you'll be able to get the point at any point in time you key in. Now, why is this important? There are what we call native ideologies. The first thing I have talked about is the C in C, cultural identity conflict. Cultural identity conflict is when you have a rabbit who relocates to where naturally rats reside or habitate. And then after spending some time with those rats, the rabbit then wants to take the ideology, the rabbit wants to take the knowledge, the rabbit wants to take every single way of life that the rats have. The rabbit wants to take it back to use it to influence other rabbits because they believe, or it believes, is the better way to do things. This is cultural identity conflict. Because at that point in the rabbit's life, the rabbit does not know, is it best for me to live like a rabbit? Or do I then identify as a rat? But because the rabbit does not know which way to behave, the only way to validate the rat's behavior in the rabbit is to get other rabbits to behave like the rabbit. It's confusing, right? Forgive me. I will explain in details. So you have this rabbit. Rabbit A moves from colony A, look at it that way, and then moves to colony B. But colony B does not have any rabbits. Colony B is filled with rats. Now, when rabbit A leaves colony A, it goes to colony B, and the rats accept the rabbit. But for them to accept the rabbit, they have to purge the rabbit of all rabbit tendencies so that the rabbit can be able to thrive in that environment. Now, they successfully purge the rabbit of those tendencies, and the rabbit begins to eat like a rat, sleep like a rat, run like a rat, and smell like a rat. Now, because the rabbit has been successfully purged of all rabbit tendencies, and then begin to behave like a rat. The rabbit looks at the rat and knows for a fact that I'm not a rat. I am a rabbit. But then the rabbit then looks at other rabbits and then says, I don't even look like a rabbit. Hold on a minute. I need to shut down the music. Yeah. Then the rabbit looks at other rabbits and then says, oh, I don't even look or behave like a rabbit. I appear to look like them. My body is just like them, but my mindset is not like them. And then the rabbit then becomes worried because the rabbit is neither a rat nor is the rabbit behaving like a rabbit. So you then have a rabbit that behaves like a rat. This is where cultural identity conflict comes into play. CIC. Now, once CIC comes into play, the only way the rabbit can be able to maintain sanity, the key word is sanity maintenance. The key word is sanity maintenance. The only way the rabbit can be able to maintain sanity is by then saying to itself, oh, I know for a fact that I am not a rat because I do not look like a rat. But I have inherently, involuntarily given myself up to behave like a rat and smell like a rat. But when I look at the people I look like, which are the rabbits, I do not even behave or smell like a rabbit, even though I look like them. And then the rabbit then says to itself, the only way I can maintain sanity is if I can get these rabbits to see that this is not the way to live, this is the way to live. And then we all rabbits behave the way I'm behaving. Now, what the person who has cultural identity conflict then tends to do is to make cultural influences. It would not make sense right now if you are doubling down on simple words. Now, because the person who has cultural identity conflict is not able to resolve within themselves that this is what they are experiencing, what they would then seek to do is to make cultural influence. I will explain. The rabbit then goes back to colony A, where you have primarily rabbits. Oh, why is TikTok saying my audio is not clear enough? I don't know. Let me check. I need to test my mic. I'm not even sure because there's nobody actively viewing me to confirm if I'm audible enough. But I don't have anyone on TikTok. But on Twitch and YouTube, I'm very certain that my mic is good because I can see the comments. But on TikTok, I'm not sure. If you're on the FYP on TikTok and you can hear me, please join. If you don't want to stick around, it's fine. Just join and confirm, oh, I can hear you. That's all I need you to do. You don't have to stick around. Eventually, we'll post the videos on TikTok. Mic check, mic check, mic check. Let's see. Mic check, mic check. Oh, volume is low. Let's do that again. Okay, mic check. Mic check, mic check, mic check, mic check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so it's good. So my audio is good. So because the rabbit wants to be able to maintain sanity, the rabbit then speaks to other rabbits in their colony and says, this is the way I think we should behave, because they will now term it with something that is demeaning at the same time self-qualifying. What do I mean by this? For example, you hear things like, if we apply it to our everyday life, you hear things like, oh, you are having this African mentality, you are not civilized. So they are first of all using your identity to relegate you to a certain stratosphere and then now give you a qualification mechanism by saying to you, if you can then think like me, you will be civilized. Now, the problem would not be a problem if it was purely a civilization issue. But the problem we are having is that the person in question is not speaking to civilization. Rather, they are speaking to sanity maintenance. So what is happening there is that the rabbit has gone back to colony A to speak to other rabbits and say, oh, do like this, oh, smell the food, always, go destroy the human food and eat it. That is the way to live. But then other rabbits are not accepting it. Let me see. Move this here, move this here. Okay, let me see. Okay, so other rabbits are not accepting it. So for other rabbits to then accept what this rabbit is saying, he would then use that the meaning term I told you about, and say something like, oh, you are not civilized, you have African mentality. Now, what would invariably happen is that you would have two categories of individuals who interact. Permit me to call the first rabbit the colonized rabbit. You would then have two individuals who would then interact with the colonized rabbit. The one who have weak identity and the ones who have strong identity. Now, the ones who have weak identity who then say, oh, my identity has not benefited me in the longest of time, or it has never benefited people who are directly close to me as a rabbit. But I can see that this other rabbit that is speaking to me a better life. So therefore, probably his identity is more beneficial than my identity. But what they do not understand is that the life of the rabbit and the life of the rat is not the same. So the rat breaks into the human home, the humans by eating all available food, destroying furnitures and papers. And that is the way the rat thrives. But the rabbit prefers to go to farmlands which are in scarcity. So the rabbit thinks that the mentality, the mindset of the lifestyle is the issue rather than the environment. So because the rabbits who have weak identity then hear from the colonized rabbits, they then say to themselves, if he is getting a better life, I think I should follow him. Now, mind you, being able to adapt, learn, and evolve is not the issue here. Being able to change, grow, do away with moribund convention is not the issue here. The issue here is being able to know when you are growing rather than discarding. Because a lot of people who fall into the category of the rabbits with weak identity, what they are doing is not growth. What they are doing is not change. Rather, what they are doing is what I call identity discard. I will not bore you. Now, because they have what I call identity discard, when they then have this interaction with these colonized rabbits, they would then say to themselves, oh, for the longest I remember, we have been eating carrots, we have been eating bananas, we have been eating vegetables, and it has done nothing good for us. How about we try go eating the bread in the human home, or we try go eating the granules, the cornflakes? Let's try that. It might help us. This is what the weak identity rabbit then says to itself. On the other hand, we then have the strong identity rabbit. The strong identity rabbit is the one that then listens, emphasis on listen. Is the one that then listens to the colonized rabbit. Here's what the colonized rabbit says. Performs thorough analysis as to the information the colonized rabbit is giving them. Then compares and contrasts this information that has been given to me by this colonized rabbit. Is it going to help us that have strong identity? Because the difference between the strong identity and weak identity rabbits is in their core values. The big difference between the strong identity rabbit and the weak identity rabbit is in their core values. Now, the strong identity rabbit then says to itself, okay, I have noticed what you have said. I have seen the significant growth you have displayed. How, in their mind, they are now saying, how do we then infuse this into our existing structure? So the strong identity rabbit is willing to readjust and realign, but not dismantle. Oh, it's crazy, man. So now, taking that to TikTok and social media, you have what you call the weak men or the Toto men compared to the traditional men. And you have what we call the misandrist feminist compared to a pick-me woman. Now, in what we have elaborated so far before the point we are now in this video, the weak men and the Toto men are the rabbits with weak identities. They are the rabbits with the weak identity. Now, the traditional men are the rabbits with strong identity. Now, when you go to the pick-me woman and misandrist and feminist, these are the misandrist and feminists are the rabbits with weak identities, while the pick-me women are the rabbits with strong identities. I will explain further. Always forgive me when I take a bite of the apple. They say an apple a day keeps the doctor away. So, the weak identity rabbit is quick to say, thank you for joining in. I'm happy. The quick identity rabbit is quick to say, oh, what you have been doing so far has benefited you as a colonized rabbit. I want to follow you. I want to learn from you. The quick identity rabbit is willing to dismantle. The weak identity rabbit is the feminist and misandrist you see on social media. But unlike the weak identity rabbit, you have the strong identity rabbit. The strong identity rabbit is the one that then says, okay, I hear what you say. I see your improvements. How do we infuse this, your structural, dynamically growing change into our existing structure without dismantling? This is what the strong identity rabbit then says. The strong identity rabbit is more of the traditional man, the alpha male, and what have you, and the pick-me woman. They are more of improving structure rather than dismantling structure. But when you look at the misandrist and the feminist, one of the issues they have the most is structure. You can't put a feminist and a misandrist with structure in a sentence. They do not do well with structure. They do not do well with structure. That is why whenever you find this misandrist / feminist, 90% of them also believe that God does not exist and there is no gender identity. It is not because they are naturally convinced that God does not exist. It is because they do not do well with structure. They do not do well with anything that has to do with you are here, I am here, they are here. They do not do well with hierarchy and structure. They dwell in chaos. Naturally, a woman is chaotic. But when we then tell you that a misandrist and feminist dwell in chaos, imagine if a woman is naturally chaotic and then she's dwelling in chaos. Think about it. Think about it. So, because because this uh, because this colonized rabbit that has gone to dwell in the rat colony is now back to then convince and influence other rabbits by affecting them through structural and behavioral changes, so that this colonized rabbit will be able to get what we call sanity maintenance. For this colonized rabbit to be able to get sanity maintenance, it then ventures on this adventure. But the side to that is that the colonized rabbit does not realize that on his return, it would not meet one mentality or one mindset of rabbits. That is our life event of today. The African mentality versus the Western mentality. Now, when it then comes back, it then says, oh, and then the weak identity rabbit then says, in consension. The weak identity rabbit holds no opposing will because it is convinced not primarily by convictions or overwhelming principle, but rather by attributes and dividends. That is what convinces the weak rabbit. So because the weak rabbit is convinced by attributes and dividends, the colonized rabbit needs not to speak. All the colonized rabbit needs to do is to appear. Are you following? Do not be shy to join the live stream. Because the colonized rabbit is not weak to speak. Give me a minute. I need to take this call. So, like I was saying, because the colonized rabbits need not to speak to the weak rabbit, All it needs to do is to appear. It then does that, and then the weak rabbit is moved by dividends and attributes, not by overwhelming principles or convictions. No, 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 no. I'll give you an example. In case my lingua is ambiguous or unnecessarily grammatical, I will give examples. So you have a misandrist that has been married 4 times to 4 different men and has had 4 children for these 4 different men. But then she goes into a gathering of women who are speaking about treatments of women in marriage or women's rights in their marital home. Now, this woman has been married 4 times, 4 different men, and has 4 different children for these 4 different men. But then when she goes into the gathering of these women who are speaking about a woman's marital rights in their home, I will also give you another additional background of who this woman is. She's a passport holder of the United States, the UK, Australia, New Zealand, anywhere you can think of that is not African. She's a passport holder. Now, she also has a stable job, maybe in the IT, in the law profession, or in the medical field. She has a stable job, money, no problem, travels whenever she wants. Now, she's to this gathering of women who are speaking with regards to a woman's rights in marriage. Now, it gets to her turn to speak, and she starts speaking like a colonized rabbit because everything she's telling these African women is how to dismantle structures. Now, the strong identity women would say, oh, I do not want to be in this conversation. I think we are getting it wrong. They might probably leave the meeting. But the weak identity women would then look at the dividends and attributes. This is how feminists and misandrists are recruited, by the way. 80% or 90% of the people who are following misandrists and feminists were not recruited based off their ideology, principles, or convictions. No. I categorically put it to you that they were recruited because of dividends and attributes. Now, when this woman decides to speak in their gathering and then wants to speak about how it should be done, the weak identity women then at the dividends and attributes, they do not even pay attention to an overwhelming principle of values. They do not check or fact check the conviction she's laying before the table. They only pay close attention to the dividends and attributes. What is the dividends and attributes in the scenario I created? They then look at the passports that she's holding. Oh, she's a US passport holder. She's a UK passport holder. Australia, New Zealand, that's where she has the passport. They then pay attention to that dividends. They then also look at the attributes that this woman is free to travel, go to the clubs, party, no restrictions. Nobody is controlling her. When they then pay close attention to these attributes and they have paid close attention to the dividends, they then say to themselves, that is the life I want. Now remember, when I started, I told you that one of the problems the colonized rabbit is facing is more mental than physical. So because the colonized rabbit has what we call CIC, do not forget it, CIC, because the colonized rabbit has cultural identity crisis, the colonized rabbit is only looking for people to influence so as to have what we call sanity maintenance. That is to say, in a Nigerian man term, the colonized rabbit, he don decrease already. But to be able to be stable, she has to or he has to look for people that would follow their way of life so that they will validate their existence by their approval. Hmm. Hmm. Naturally, what you are hearing right now that is being sent live through Twitch and YouTube by 15 viewers on YouTube, 10 viewers on Twitch, and 0 viewers on TikTok. What you are getting right now ought to be a master class that people pay thousands of dollars for. But do you know why no one is listening to this in multitude right now? Because I am one of the strong identity rabbits. Now, because the colonized rabbit is facing sanity maintenance search, when they present their case to the colony of rabbits, the weak rabbit then looks at attributes and dividends and then says, oh, she's a passport holder, she's a lawyer, she's a doctor, she's a IT professional, she has done this, she has done that, she's a politician. Oh, she travels when she wants, she parties. You see her, she's rocking clothes, skimpy clothes, her breast, everything sexy. Yeah. They see all the attributes and they have weighed the dividends. And they then say to themselves, because this is the life I want, they then follow the colonized rabbit. Now, the problem they did not envisage by following the colonized rabbit is that the colonized rabbit has cultural identity crisis. So, in following the colonized rabbit, they would then inherit an identity that holds no roots. I will explain in practicality. Now, what then happens is that because the colonized rabbit is built to dismantle structures, when they follow this colonized rabbit, for a fact, they will get the attributes. The dividends, I am not sure of because the dividends is depending on your situation. But the attributes, they will get it for a fact. They will be able to go to clubs as much as they like. They will be able to dress in any way they want. No one will hold them accountable. But because after following the colonized rabbits, some of them will get the dividends, some will not get the dividends. Now, with this in mind, they will now begin to experience the need to perform a sanity maintenance search. Oh God, I think I need this right now. I can't be doing it all by myself alone. Oh, where is this thing? Where is this thing? Where is this thing? This is why TikTok they had me sometimes. Mm-hmm. Okay, it's not this one. Mm-hmm. Uh-huh. So because they need to perform the sanity maintenance search, many of them then try to do that, but when they fail, they will not experience what we call mental downsides. Hmm. This mental downsides is what will then lead them to experience what a lot of people would use in identifying them as mentally unstable. I will explain. So because of this mental downsides, what then happens is that, oh, I said I would do this and I forgot. Now, this one doesn't taste nice. So. Mm. Of them were not properly involved or indulged in a way to transition from their original identity to this new crisis. They then experience this mental downsides. And the downside of that is these weak identity rabbits then become mentally unstable. So they go around then in their communities, in their colonies, on social media, causing chaos by showing the extreme of the attributes. Now, I will back channel a little bit. Because these colonized rabbits have been able to get mental sanity check by influencing others, what then happens is that the influenced then go the same line, but then they do not get their expectations met. So it is more like I don't know if you've ever played a game of dice, poker, or blackjack, where you're at the point of if I do this, I get this, if I do that, I get that. It has to be one. And then you decide to do this, and then you realize that after doing this, you did not get this. You started regretting why you didn't do that. But the problem is you can't undo this to go and do that because you have already done this. So what then happens is you break down. So depending on what is at stake, you either break down sparingly or you break down heavily. Now, if what is at stake is maybe 10% of your daily pay, you break down sparingly because it's normally what you can spend on a bottle of beer. But if what is at stake is your entire life savings and you are on retirement, you will break down heavily. You will become suicidal. You become nationally chaotic, that is to say, willing to do and undo to create unrest in the nation. Now, what happens to these weak rabbits that have successfully been colonized by the colonized rabbits searching for sanity maintenance check? Is that they then go on to play this game I told you about. But the problem is that some of them do not get this. So they then begin to regret why didn't they do that? That is what then happens when you see them come out in mass. Misery. You know, misery loves company. So they come out in mass and begin to push for a new sanity maintenance check. You know, when the colonized rabbits came to do a sanity maintenance check, the colonized rabbit did not come out in mass because the colonized rabbit did not have mass number. The colonized rabbit probably came whispering, came rebelling, or rather came in a suggestive manner. But because the colonized rabbit was able to influence a reasonable number that have then reached a point of regret, when these numbers now want to perform sanity maintenance check, they then go out in mass. That is when they begin to put on a facade that they represent a movement that moves nothing. Are you with me? W move in the chat. They then put up a facade that represents a movement that moves nothing. What then happens is that they then get a new set of weak identity rabbits, which are probably under the age of 14, 16, in their mother's home, that are curious, with a curious mindset, probably have experienced one heartbreak or the other, and then stumble across these videos of these 40-year-olds and above who are experiencing CIC. They then perform sanity maintenance check on this child. Now, what then happens is that they then raise this weak identity rabbit to become someone who has CIC at a very young age, which inherently affects the society at large. I need to take this call, guys. Hello? One anyway. How far now? Why? I wish you the same. And I make what? Like, my brother, no be small thing. No, we need to be people and now you try pass. Baby, no kwano. Okay. 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 Listen. How will you try to? Next time we put that amount in chocolate. So you can use water like that. So we can check feedback. The feedback in nature or the money itself. The check as a normal or take the chilaka like that. You never took it. Mm. Mm. How your wife now and your people? One thing not to call like this, eme m invite nwunye gị akpọghị one of her friend ochie m na ka m jidekwado at one nọ na-ekirikwa na understand. Okay. Yep. Ịma na random using the different from referral na recommendation. Ịma na referral na recommendation ka wee shie ike. Mm. Nna just jiri aka gị ghọtara m ofu onye nwe akwụkwọ ọ ya wuru ikoko njidegodi ofu onye nwere akwụkwọ iru ya dịtụ oke ọ dị m mma. Nsogbu Why now? You must tell Sarah. Yeah, no. Mm. Possible. Otogo knows where the piano quick and man. Okay. Udo? Mm-hmm. Be London, thank you for the live. So I see you. Thank you very much. And good evening to you too. Hmm. So I need to take that call. Mm. I don't even remember where I was, but I'll try to pick up my train of thoughts. So I was talking about the fact that the that we've talked about three stages of weak identity rabbits here. Now, the first weak identity rabbit is the one that was influenced by the colonized rabbit. And the colonized rabbit originally influenced the weak identity rabbit by whispers, suggestion, or rebellion. It was not a mass movement. I don't retire from TikTok, but make I like before going. No while I've been on that. Thank you very much. So, because the colonized rabbit did not make use of mass movement, it then created independent cells. There was no community with regards to those that it influenced. Now, what then happens is that the influenced weak rabbit now ventures into towing that line and then realizes that there is no dividend, there is no like their expectations are invariably not met. They then form a mass movement that moves nothing. I will explain. When they get into this venture, to them, they will get the attributes. Remember, I told you that them getting the attribute is guaranteed. If it's the attributes, they'll get the attributes. But the dividends, I am not sure of. When I talked about the dividends, I mentioned things like the person is probably a passport holder, United States, UK, Australia, anywhere that's not Africa. The person is maybe a lawyer, a medical professional, or a tech person. So when they look at the dividends of that, this is nice. Now, some of the attributes are this person can wear any kind of clothes, party anywhere, travel as much as they like. They are not accountable to anyone. They then look at those attributes and say, that is the life I want. Now, when they venture into this, the attributes, they will get it. When they get the attributes, the dividends is not guaranteed because the dividend comes as a result of doing. So many of them might not get the dividends depending on where they are and whom they are. Now, they can get these attributes, but because the colonized rabbit did not inform them in totality with regards to the sanity maintenance check that needs to be done, they then experience what we call mental breakdown. Now, what is sanity maintenance check? Sanity maintenance check comes as a result of CIC. Question: what is CIC? CIC is cultural identity crisis. Now, because they are experiencing cultural identity crisis, that is to say, the rabbit then says to himself, oh, I am a rabbit. I look like a rabbit, but I eat, I breathe, I behave like a rat. The rabbit then looks at the colony of rabbit and says, wow, I look like them, but I do not behave, eat, or smell like them. So the colonized rabbit then looks at itself. I am neither a rabbit nor a rat. Now, to be able to get sanity maintained, he then goes to meet other rabbits in the rabbit colony to influence them to behave like him or her, so that when he looks at them, he will then get validation from their approval. Hey, BK, Oyibo, English. See, we don't want to get validation from their approval. Now, with that said, this brings us back to where we are. Now, because the rabbits have successfully influenced those ones, they venture on that same journey. It's a cycle. They venture on that journey and they then get to a point where they have gotten the attributes, may or may not have gotten the dividends, but then begin to experience the need for a sanity maintenance check. But when they want to perform this sanity maintenance check, they then realize it is not what it is. And then they experience mental breakdown. In the course of experiencing this mental breakdown, what then happens is that they then begin to look for people that they would influence also, because that is the way to perform the sanity maintenance check. Now, the only challenge is that when they now want to do this, they then form a mass movement that moves nothing. In the course of forming this mass movement, they then begin to influence young girls who probably have one heartbreak, one disappointment, daddy issue, mommy did not buy me this. They then listen to them, listen to their teachings every day on social media, and they are then influenced by this. Now, these people now become a chaos to the society because I said earlier, naturally a woman is chaotic, naturally. Now, when they now indoctrinate this into that child, the child now becomes a chaotic woman. Imagine what that then becomes. Now, when this now happens, you now begin to have people who are going on social media screaming, kill them, kill the baby boy, murder them, buy them, do this, do that. Now, that is now the issue we are now facing. Now, we have gotten to the point where they formed a mass movement. I have been explaining with rat and rabbit for a long time. Now let's go into the itty gritty, which is man and woman, African and Western mentality. Now, because they have been influenced for a very long time, what am I feeling? What am I feeling? Guys, give me a minute. Hmm. So, Vibes by Chulo. I'll be back. So this is what these things I have just explained are one of the issues we have been facing so far and largely in our society, where ideas that are not naturally ours are being introduced into the society. Are we going on very soon? Something just came up. Ideas that are not naturally ours are being introduced into the society. So, for example, you would hear things like, oh, gender equality, this one, that one. But the truth is that what feminists and misandrists are primarily asking for is not gender equality. They are not asking for gender equality. Because true gender equality means that if I walk into a room and you walk into a room as a woman, we are not seen as man or woman. We are seen as humans. That is true gender equality. But the society has never practiced gender equality. As a matter of fact, if I shift my camera, let me shift it. What you see on this picture, the, the justice scale on the right, is what we have in our society. The society has never practiced true gender equality. That's why when you walk into the room, there are chances that you will hear phrases like ladies first. There are chances that when you go into a courtroom, you hear that by default, the woman is the primary carer. Do you know that if men are being given child custody and they then mandate women to pay child support to the men, do you know that 80% of women would not want to divorce? Yeah, 80% of them will not want to divorce. What women ask for 9 times out of 10 is not gender equality, it is preferential treatment. So, one time at my workplace, I had an issue where I had to address a woman and speak to her with regards to behavioral concerns. And in the course of addressing her, she had a man with her there who maybe is her husband or a friend. I don't know, but he wasn't really masculine in the conversation. She was more of a dictatorial position to him. So when I was then speaking to her, I spoke to her in the same manner in which I spoke to the man. But then when she could no longer handle the way I was speaking to her, she then came up with this by saying, you do not know how to speak to a woman. And in my head, I'm like, why in the professional world or ethics do I need to speak to you differently than I would speak to a man? Why? The only kind of woman I need to know how to speak to is my mother, my daughter, and my wife, if I choose to have any. Those are the only three types, those are the only three women I need to speak to any differently. My mother, my daughter, and my wife. True gender equality does not allow me know you are a woman when I am dealing with you. True gender equality does not allow me know you are a woman or a man when I'm dealing with you. So when she said you do not know how to speak to a woman, I responded to her in all confidence. I am not responsible for speaking to you as a woman. That's what I told her. And she was triggered. She was stunned. Because probably in her 50 years of living on earth, no one has ever said that to her. I am not responsible for making you feel like a woman. I am only responsible for making you feel like a human. If you want to bask in your femininity, go get a husband. True gender equality will tell a man that before he gets paid $100, he needs to move 100 bag of cement. And when a woman comes to the site and asks for that same $100, true gender equality would make her move 100 bags of cement. Talk about it. Talk about it. Gender equality would say that if a man and a woman get to divorce, they would share what they have equally. What does this mean? If the man has $10,000 and the woman has $1,000, they are not going to share $11,000. They are going to share what they have joint equally. Because when you share $11,000, you have given the woman an unfair advantage. Because what that inherently means for other rabbits in the colony is you do not have to work when you're in marriage. Just marry a man that is hardworking. And when you're tired, divorce him and take half of what he has. And that is what is happening in the United States. They look for a rich man, they get married to him, and at every slightest mood swing, they sue for a divorce. So true gender equality says that there is nothing like Ministry of Women Affairs, but we have it in my country. Do you know why? Because my country has always been unfair to the male gender. But they will not tell you this. They will tell you that Africa is patriarchal. They will tell you that Africa is patriarchal. We have Ministry of Women Affairs. We do not have Ministry of Men Affairs. As a matter of fact, if a rape case for a male child is reported, it will take twice the time to investigate it as the time to investigate a rape case of a female child. That probably did not make sense to you, so I'll repeat it. If it takes 3 days to begin the investigation, not resolution, to begin the investigation of the rape case of a female child, I am telling you it will take 1 week to begin the investigation of the rape case of a male child. As a matter of fact, there is a high tendency that if the officer investigating it is a man, he will even tease the victim. You sure you know enjoy him? And you tell me about gender equality or marginalization of women. What hole did you crawl out from? What hole did you crawl out from? No gender equality is being blind to whether you are male or female. I was in a live stream, not actively, but passively. I was in a live stream around 4 hours ago, and they were having an argument with regards to the fact that women are not properly involved in societal, what have you. And then I listened keenly, and one of the points they brought up is that I don't know how my audio is sounding, so I have to test it. Audio check. Mic check, mic check. Okay, 1 2 1 2 1 2. Oh, but my audio is poor. Mic check, mic check, mic check. See, my audio is poor. No wonder. No wonder it's not really capturing everything. Mic check, mic check. Okay, this is much better. Okay. So, welcome in Arno Chai. So I was in the live stream, and one of the points they gave with regards to marginalization of a woman is the fact that During elections, women are not given proper chances. They said that if you look at the Senate, there are not enough women in the Senate. If you look at the House of Rep or Rebecca, and one of the intelligent young men there then said, is there any law that has been passed that prevents a woman from contesting for these positions? And then one of the misandrists on the box then said, oh, it's not about law that when a woman comes out, that the men ought to create a conducive environment for her. That is not gender equality. That is unfair advantage. And this is the reason why the women who have come out do not normally go far. Because when they come out, they are looking for favors rather than meritorious service. They are looking for favors. They walk into a room expecting men to do things for them just because they exist. But if you bring two youths, let's say between the ages of 30 to 33, and put them into the political atmosphere, the young man would walk his way using power play and service. The woman would be looking for the big shots who she can be in his good books. This is why they do not go far. This is allegedly. Allegedly, most times she would not walk her way. She would sleep with this person, that person, to get to where she ought to go. And by the time she gets to almost the apex, so the apple is working. For the sake of proper explanation, let's use Adobe and Obi. You know, Adobe is a girl, Obi is a boy. So let's work with Adobe and Obi. Now you put Adobe and Obi into the political space. Obi will work his way. Probably he might fight, he might beat, he might struggle, he might lobby, become a local government chairman. Then he will do local government chairman, gather money, create relationship, go for maybe House of Rep. He will now now come again, now fight, collect a governor. He will now struggle. Maybe after governor, you know, one contest Senate. But Adobe, on the other hand, instead of playing the same card, maybe when Obi was going for local government chairman, instead of Adobe to go for local government chairman in our own local government, Adobe will put poster for local government chairman and be looking for the number of the governor. What for? What for? Okay, let's say you want to establish relationship, which is okay. It's a healthy way to play politics. But you might end up sleeping with the governor. And maybe when you were entering, the governor was doing his last 4 years. You now entered as a local government chairman, you slept with that governor. Now the new governor now comes in. For you to maintain relevance, you sleep with the new governor. Then when the new governor now goes out, you now want to contest for, let's say, House of Rep. You now sleep with the new governor and maybe the senators then. Who is going to respect you when they have passed you around? Because the next person that you want to, let me tell you how it works. By the time you have slept with this governor, this senator, that House of Rep, by the time you want to go to maybe the latest senator to gain favor or build relationship, he too wants to sleep with you. Now everybody has eaten it. Let him to collect his share. That is how he will see you. This one don't chop. This one don't. Me a chop. Now don't be mugu. Because he will feel like a fool if he's the only one who assisted you without sleeping with you. That is how it works in the world of men. If everybody has slept with you before they assisted you, he will be like a fool to be the one who is assisting you without sleeping with you. You might say he's a gentleman, but he's a big fool. Because what other men were able to do and then give you what you wanted, he now gave it to you. Just like that. So what then happens is that because you have started on that precedence, and you slept with the governor to get your first political assistance, The next one you need, the information will fly. Because remember that even if that governor you slept with does not open his mouth to talk, he has a PA. Because the governor is not going to buy the condom himself. The governor is not going to book the hotel himself. The governor is not going to text you the location. Hi. This thing I'm saying now, it sounds like it's banter, but the governor is not going to test you the location himself. And this is not just politics, it applies both in the music world. This is why you will see some women, they will get into the Nigerian music industry or movie industry. They will reign, oh, then they will not hear them again in anything. Like they'll just fade. Is that one marginalization too? Is that one marginalization? So what then happens is that the person texting you location of hotel is not the governor. It's the PA. Even if the governor that texts you, the PA will read it one day. Even if it's the governor that texts you, the PA will read it one day. That nude picture you sent the governor to motivate him to listen to you, that your video where you were touching yourself, that you sent a governor to motivate you, to make you a senator, that you will say you said, it is not only the governor that saw it, his PA saw it. And this PA, they have what we call forum. We never go, no. This PA, they have what we call forum. Like, for example, now, if the PA of, when we talk of PA, not just all this PA, I mean the actual PA, the one that when you see him, you have seen the governor. And that number one man, that's right hand to the governor, or chief of staff, I think that's what they call it, chief of staff, yeah. Now, that chief of staff, they have forum. So the chief of staff of, let's say, Imo State, he knows the one of Rivers State. The chief of staff of Rivers State knows the one of Ogun State, Lagos State, just like that. They all have forum. The chief of staff of all the governors have forum. So some of them in that forum have what we now call clique. Hey, just because inside that forum, you have PDP, you have APC. Now, inside the PDP, you will have Southeast PDP, South PDP. Inside that South PDP, you will not have Padimem. Oh, you know they understand what I talk. Now, inside that South Padimem, you feel that you are only you and governor on iron matters. Chief of staff don't see him. Chief of staff now, when he's drinking, enjoying with his friends, they're talking about how somebody might bring up the discussion that all these senators, once they become senator, they know they remember their former boyfriend again, or once they become senator, they will just form. It is still one of the PA that will not bring it up. They know they form anything. Maybe all these ones will be say, my God, they don't sleep with, come make them senator. Now, because they now know that one will not bring it up, then the other ones will not want to argue, say that lie, which can't say. They will not want to bring proof to convince them, because what a human hates more than anything is the fact that somebody is questioning their knowledge. So when they now say, when he had convinced them that see how the Ogate knock you, see the Oga knock you, see what you send Oga. Now that one now have another click that is not in that click where that video story came from. Where he now go to drink with that his other click, he will still tell those ones. Before you know it, will become an unspoken knowledge that before you became a senator, see who and who has slept with you. Now tell me now, when you want to contest for, let's say, presidency, what card do you want to play? Because the people you have slept with from your days of local government chairman to the point you became senator, they are so numerous that nobody cares. Nobody cares about sleeping with you again. They want the new girls. They want the new ones that are yet to start their career in politics. Because by the time you're already there, you're already probably having wrinkles. Your foundation has foundation. So they don't care again about you. Now, because they don't care again about you, and the only political relevance you have is in between your legs, and because they don't want that again, they will then push you to the side and you then say you are marginalized. Because the only political relevance you have is in between your legs, you will then say, oh, She did that one, that did not marginalize her. You were not marginalized. You just became irrelevant to them because they don't want you, or God don't want you. They want the fresh ones, the new ones, the ones that probably are 28 that want to become House of Assembly, want to become House of Rep. They are aiming for those ones. So that is what is happening. That is the power play. Now, because they are aiming for those ones, the old ones begin to die out. And when I say the old ones, I mean the old ones that actually used sexual favors to climb the ladder. The old ones begin to die out. So most times when these women clamor for gender equality, it is not gender equality per se. It is more of preferential treatment. It is more of, all of you have been talking since. All of you in this box are men, you have talking since. Allow a woman talk now. It's not gender equality. Gender equality is, all of you have been talking since. Can I say something? You are not playing the gender card. You are coming as a human being. All of you have been talking. Can I say something? Because if that was a man, he would not say, all of you have been talking since. Allow a man talk now. He wouldn't do that. He would say, oh no, I don't they talk. Make I say something. Even if not one thing, just 2 minutes. He will not play the gender card. That is true gender equality. But when you are always playing the gender card, you are not seeking gender equality. You are looking for preferential treatment. Somebody say, Alhamdulillah. You are looking for preferential what? Treatment. Now, I will give you other examples where these things normally happen. You can be on a, let's say, let me use something more relatable. You can be on TikTok. And let's say they are doing a normal talk show like this. And then they've gifted the host. And let's say people that have gifted the host, they have like 6 girls or 6 women that have gifted the host, they're one man. Then somebody from nowhere will now say, you see, I'm now later when I go say women know the trash. Now 6 women I don't gift host, reach this thing. No man has given the host anything. That is not, you see, you that said that thing, you are more of a misogynist than a man said. You as a woman that said that, you're a bigger misogynist to your gender than a man. Because a true person who advocates for equal rights across gender would not even notice that it was 6 women that gave gift, because to her it is normal. Women should be giving. To her it is normal. But because you have gender bias in you, you believe that a woman is not supposed to give, it's a man that will give. So therefore, when the woman gives, it becomes a big deal to you that you have to now give unnecessary accolades. That in itself is preferential treatment, not gender equality. That in itself is what? Preferential treatment, not gender equality. You get where they go, but I won't go there small, small. And it's unfortunate that I do not have viewers here, but even if it's in Nineveh, we'll take the gospel there. Even if it is in Nineveh. So that is what most times happens, not just on TikTok, but in the world globally, where you have men, women who keep on speaking and they identify themselves as feminists and all that, but they do not even know what the basic of feminism. They don't know what it is, which is gender equality. They do not know it. They do not even know how to fight for it. They do not even know how to represent it or present or advocate for it. They know nothing. All they know is that anything that the men have been comfortable with for the longest time, dismantle it. So they only know how to dismantle structure. 90% of feminists on social media are not feminists. They know how to dismantle structures. That is why you will see them telling you no need for bride price, no need for traditional marriage. They'll begin to tell you things like you don't need to take your husband's name. They only know how to dismantle what structure. Oh, kaja kaja. They only know how to dismantle structure. Now, another thing I wanted to talk about today before I leave. Welcome, Internet. It's been a minute. Another thing I wanted to talk about today before I leave is true consent versus demasculinization. Oyibo, another. Now, recently, I was reading a blog post. Yes, a verified blog post from one of the top news media outlets in the United States. I then verified that blog post with 3 other news medias as well as Grok on Twitter. So it's a verified news. There was a man that was sentenced to jail in the UK for raping. When I saw the man, a young black guy under the age of 25, when I saw the post, I was baffled because the guy in the photo shoots, the headshot they normally take before they arrest somebody, that guy is what 80% of UK women want. Like he's hot demand, is it? He's hot cake. They want him. It not be like us, we no fine. He top demand like all those girls people say go yo deal. So we go one soccer. He's now hot demand. So I can't wonder. Say why he be say they say reward unlocked tier 2 flirt action. I don't know what that. I can't say why he be say I will set like this. What make it come go the great person? That was what I was thinking. So sorry, guys. After reading the headline and looking at the picture, that's okay. Let me just go through the story. Maybe that will throw more light. I can't go the story. I can't wait till they go say, okay, in catch the girl, in slap the girl, in blow the girl, come take the girl cloth, come carry Ebola, come put inside, force am. That's what I was waiting for. When I got to read the case, the case is that the guy knocked the girl raw. The girl consented to knacking and to knacking raw. But he said that she did not consent to the guy releasing inside her. Hi, is he about you don't understand. You consented to someone knocking you. You consented to that he can knock you without condom. But you did not consent to the fact that he can ejaculate inside you. And in my head, I said demasculinization. You want to turn men into donkeys, dogs, robots, where you can use for your pleasure and discard them. These men have no say or right in the activity. Because if a man has say and right in the activity, for the fact that you have consented to him knocking alone, you have consented to every possibility that has to do with it until you withdraw that consent. Until you withdraw that consent. Hmm. So when I read that news publication finish, I was confused, I was worried, I was alarmed. My check, my check, my check. Okay. I was worried. And do you know the worst part? This is somebody that he has been with for 6 months or more from that news. So it was not an issue of a one night stand, she was drunk or something. So I then said to myself, when did men start giving consent for these women to fertilize their egg? Mm, you go loud, man. Because if you are saying that for a man, you have given consent to knock you, you gave the man consent to have sex with you gave the man consent to knock you without waterproof, you gave him consent to have sex with you without protection, but you sued him for grave charge because he ejaculated inside you, owing to the fact that you did not consent to him pouring or releasing inside you. You did not consent to him ejaculating inside you. My question to the feminists and misandrists in our community and globally is, which men have given you consent to fertilize your egg with their sperm? So let's say you consent to him ejaculating inside you. Did you then seek his consent to fertilize your egg? Let us go with this consent madness. Any masculine man who sees my video, share it and advocate for this in your own platforms too. You are saying that you consented to a man to have sex with you without condoms, but you did not consent to him ejaculating inside you. And because of that, you have slammed him a grave charge, and now he has been arrested. My question now is, you as the woman that is getting pregnant, asking for child support, can you show us proof that you sought the man's consent to fertilize your egg? Let us all go crazy. Can you show us that proof? Because why I call this demasculinization is, when you create a law that continually favors only one party, it is a victimizing law. So let's say you have two people in a country, black and white, and every time you create a law, it favors the black and reduces the rights and freedom of the whites. You are victimizing the whites. So if you keep on creating laws that favor women and reduces the rights of men, you are victimizing men. It is just that basic. It is just that what? Basic. I will take a short break and I'll be back.